Hi. There's a Jack Campbell who wants to come in. Do you think we should admit them? Someone hacked our fascinating geography Zoom. Hey, Jack Campbell. Let's see who it is. Any guesses? Okay. Jack Campbell, is that you, Drew? Ah, good one. Okay, word on the street. Justice's camera is not functioning today, so we're letting him off the hook. We're gonna let him join even though his camera isn't on, just because we love him that much. Wondering if he maybe got a bad haircut. Is that why your camera isn't working, Justice? I'm just teasing you. You don't have to answer any of my barbs that I send your way. Hi, Alexa. Whoa, Drewsters. Get me caught up on the Leafs because I'm not even allowed to talk about it in this house. So what's going on? Where are they sitting? Oh, are you typing it in? All right, I will watch my chat. They're winning. Okay, we'll get to that in English. I'm sure you meant to say they are winning. I gotcha. I gotcha though. I speak your language. Okay, congratulations. Okay, our chipper chip opportunity right now is go get something a Canadian farmer made. Grew, made, go get it. Okay, see you back in like 20 seconds. A Canadian farmer grew this. Oh, nice one, Dawson. Peeled and ready to go. Did you have to peel that?
Yeah, yesterday.
Okay, nice. All right. Drew, you've got a handful of grass there. Is that true? A Canadian farmer grew that like you?
Yes, me and my dad.
Okay, who's going to eat that?
Me.
Do it. Eat the grass. Drew, dare him. Guys, come on, everyone. Drew. Oh, let me get my chipper chips. Whoa. Eating grass.
How is it?
All right. Okay, look at these. Okay, so we've got Dawson and corn. Drew ate some grass. Alexa, what have you got there? Oh, a tomato partially eaten. All right. Nice. Justice, you are holding up a potato, which some people think taste okay raw, but Justice and I agree they're disgusting raw. Hi, Ethan. It's been so long. Welcome. So we were just doing a chipper challenge, going to find something a Canadian farmer made or grew. If you want to participate, you are welcome to. I have these little ones, tomatoes, and they are actually grown in Exeter, Ontario, in a greenhouse, clearly, because it's not time yet. Oh, did you bring Hannah as your thing a Canadian farmer grew? We're not going to get into that because you've covered that in a number of other subjects. We do go on some bunny trails in geography, but that will not be one of them. Okay. Rebecca is looking around. Hey, Eden, welcome. We are just finishing our Chipper Chip challenge. Those of you who participated last time, did you get your little treat in your package? That Oreo tasting Rice Krispie square? That was for me. With love to you. Okay, great. We're going to, Rebecca, you just jump back in when you've got your thing. Oh, do you have it? An apple?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it? It's like right in the light. It's interpretive, whatever you want it to be. Okay. All right, just checking my chat. Awesome. I'll put back. So today we're talking about farming as an industry in Canada that contributes to our economy, provides jobs, and of course, food. So I am going to share my screen because I actually have a completed slideshow. Look at me. It's not on Canva because I'm old and I'm not there yet, but even just to have a completed slideshow feels like I did something incredible. Okay, so we did that. Good job. If you could open to your notebook for geography, we are looking at the page just on the other side of the tractor. So that is what you did hopefully yesterday in your independent block. And today it looks like this. Okay, so we've got some, it says at the top, your textbook pages 292 to 306 will help you. And the first question is 4 examples of farmers making adjustments. Okay, so that's the page we're after. And we're going to talk through your blanks so you get those all perfect. Remember that you are submitting this whole unit on Canada's industries as your culminating project. This is your culminating project. You investigating largely on your own, but with a little bit of seminar help from me, these different industries and sectors of the Canadian economy. Okay, so you want to fill this out really well because it is 15% of your mark. So it is, instead of an exam in our course, you are having a course culminating activity, or project, CCP. All right, so now that we got the lingo down, let's begin. So 4 examples of farmers making adjustments for agricultural deficiencies. Ooh, that sounds like a lot. Agricultural deficiencies, it just means maybe you're farming in an area that is like mountainous. Maybe you're farming in an area where it's wet a lot, either because of lake effects off of the Great Lakes, or you're near an ocean, or your climate just tends to be damp. Maybe it tends to be dry. So farmers across Canada have to make certain modifications to be able to grow within their growing season. The growing season in Saskatchewan, especially northern Saskatchewan, is much different than Ontario. On the spring break, they had snow in Saskatchewan. So there's places in Alberta that just got snow on the May 2-4 weekend. So all across Canada, farmers can't use the same techniques and the same seeds and the same patterns because they have different challenges. Okay, so just choose 4 of these. Some farmers, especially in colder regions of Canada, are going to have to choose crops with shorter growing seasons. They're not going to be able to grow crops that take 5 months to mature. They don't have 5 months of summer. They're going to have to develop varieties that mature more quickly. They may need to start seedlings in a greenhouse. So instead of the seeds going in the ground and you risking frost or other problems, they might start those in a greenhouse and transplant them. They may irrigate if they're in a particularly dry area. They may need to set up a system of irrigation if rainfall is not dependable there. They might use different methods to preserve moisture, like ground cover on top or straw to keep the moisture in. Farmers may develop crops that require less water. So if you're living in a place where you don't get much moisture and maybe irrigation is just too expensive for you to invest in, maybe they begin growing crops that just don't need as much water. They can add natural or chemical fertilizers to supplement either the soil deficiencies there or maybe for sun deficiencies. They use plant rotations. And they may introduce insect species in to pollinate or to deal with other insects. So instead of spraying insecticide, they might introduce an insect predator that won't be harmful to their crop, but will eat up the insect that is. So those are just some of the adjustments that farmers make. There's a whole boatload, but you only need to choose 4 of those. And I bet you chose the 4 shortest ones because you guys are smart that way. Okay. Next question on your page is, why is agriculture important to Canada? I am just going to that hopefully helps you guys see a little bit better there. Why is agriculture important to Canada? So about 20% of jobs, Canadian jobs, are related to the agricultural sector of the economy. So that's 1/5 of Canadian jobs. That's a significant portion of Canadian jobs are related in some way to the agricultural sector. Another reason agriculture is important is because Canadians rely on farmers to produce affordable food. Ooh, sorry. So just to contrast this, in the 1950s, Canadians spent about 25% of their income on food. Today, we spend around 11%. It is hard to gauge when you look at eating at home versus eating out. It's hard to track those, but the best guess is that Canadians are spending about 10%, 11% now on their food. So we're spending less on our food, probably eating more too, just looking at the 1950s and now. So Canadian farmers are working hard to produce affordable food for Canada. Just a quick little side note. I want you to write under your answer to why is agriculture important to Canada, I want you to write just kind of like I have here on this line, note. And I want you on this next slide. Oh, I was really hoping Harrison was going to be here because he's kind of a genius with all of the countries. But this is food spending around the world. And we know this is Africa. And so we're looking at, this is Algeria. I have a map on my wall. That's why I'm looking over here. Algeria. These dark green areas are those countries are spending between 42 and maybe 57, 60% of their household income just on food. Okay, again, we have places like Kazakhstan that are spending a lot. It costs like half of the paycheck for your family is spent on food. Anyone see, I'll just flip to the next slide because it shows us like with some actual numbers and some countries. So we can look right down to the bottom at Nigeria and see that almost 57% of a Nigerian's income is just spent on food. I was going to ask you, anyone see a problem with that? You can pop that into the chat or you can just take your microphone off. I can't see all of you while I'm screen sharing at the same time. So please don't sit there with your hand up because I probably won't see you. I can only see a few of you at a time. So pop it into the chat. When you're spending half of your income, your paycheck on food, anyone see a problem with that, either for the present or down the road? So again, Canadians are spending right now about 10% of their paycheck on food. If you're spending 50%, anyone see some concerns or problems, some potential, ooh, that doesn't sit well. Maybe this might happen. Ooh, yeah, awesome. Okay, so Rebecca has popped into our chat with you have less money for clothes, home, right? Like Justice suggested, like it's going to be really hard to get a mortgage or pay a mortgage. Most people, a big chunk of their paycheck is paying for their mortgage or like a big thing like that. So if you're spending half of your income just to get food for the month, just like for that period of time, it's not like you're squirreling it away and now you've got 6 months worth of food. For that, just survival, you're just surviving. That's just food, daily food that you're eating each day. So that's when we look at countries like Egypt and Ukraine and Pakistan and Cameroon and Nigeria spending so much of their income on food, it becomes hard to save to buy a house, save to pay your mortgage off, save to put money away for your kids to go to school or have a better life than what you had, to pay school fees, any of those things. That becomes almost impossible when you're spending so much on just food. Okay, great. So that's like a bonus for people who actually watch this video or attend this seminar. Note, I want you to note one country. So maybe you want to go right to Nigerians. You want to put note, Nigerians spend 57% on food. Okay, so note, Nigerians spend 57% on food. Okay, so if you put a country and percentage in there, you'll get a bonus mark. So if maybe something else wasn't done as well, it will count now as a bonus mark just for being here and being so wonderful. Okay, next question. How is land a renewable resource? How is it not a renewable resource or a non-renewable resource? So it's renewable because if it's used properly, it can supply us with food year after year. It can support crops year after year. So it's renewable in that if we take care of it, it can sustain crops year after year. Okay, so that's the answer to how is land renewable. If it's used properly, it can support crops year after year after year. How is land non-renewable? Well, hey, there's a limited amount available. Like there's a limited amount of land in Canada, especially land suitable to farming. So it's non-renewable in that we can't get more of it. There's a fixed supply of it. And if it's paved over and developed, it can no longer be used for farming. So it's non-renewable in the sense that once you pave it and put a shopping mall on it, you can't use that for farming. Fixed supply of land in Canada, once it's developed and paved over, we can't use it for farming. So what percentage of Canada's land is suitable for farming? Less than 15%. That's a little bit surprising given like how big we see Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, which has a lot of farming in it, how big those provinces are. Actually, there's only about 15% of land good for farming in Canada. Okay, so that is the question, the answer to your next question there. The last question on our page, these slides will be available if you don't get all the answers for you to like scroll back through. I'll just pop it on Edsby. All right, another opportunity for a chip or chip. What is the root of mechanization? Take your microphone off or I will watch my chat for your answer. What is the root word when we talk about mechanization in farming? What is the root word of mechanization? Where does it come from? Oh, I'm watching the chat and whoa, mechanics, good one. Thinking of something else, especially when you think about what mechanization is in farming. Ooh, farm equipment, good one. Okay, so if we think about, you guys are like, you're so close, you're hot, you're burning. What, oh, I just see more chat. Everyone wants to talk to me. Machines, I love it. Okay, good, good, good. Yes, okay, so awesome, machines. So I'm throwing a chipper chip in for, let me see, for Becca. Becca said machines. Justice. Justice. And Drew, good job. Okay. So machine, that's what, if we want to think about changes in farming, it's going from like horse and plow, oxen, donkeys, to machines doing phenomenal amount of work in a day compared to what a single person with a couple of draft horses or a couple of oxen could do a century ago. So mechanization, the use of machinery, huge combines, huge planters. What that's done is it's allowed the size of farms to increase. So again, if we look at like 100 years ago, average farm size might have 50 hectares that could be used for personal human food, or you could be growing hay for your animals. Fast forward, and the average size of farms is more like, I don't have it in hectares, is more like 1,000 acres. So we have an increase because you can do more with machines. With a single person driving that machine, you can cover a whole lot more ground, figuratively and literally speaking, than you could 100 years ago with a pair of draft horses. This has also decreased the number of farms. So smaller farms have sold their land and maybe gotten out of farming because they didn't want to invest in the mechanization, like phenomenal amount of money to buy the machines in order to keep competing in the market. The same might be true of, again, like something like someone who had a small dairy herd 100 years ago. Maybe you had a few cows, you had enough milk for yourselves and you could sell some. That just becomes impossible to compete with what you need for a few cows and a few chickens. It's not worth it. So many smaller farms have sold to larger farms who've bought them up and increased their land size. So that's how mechanization has affected farming. We have an increase in the increase in the size of farms and a decrease in the number of farms because we just have bigger farms. Issues facing Canadian farmers. So this is the last page we're going to cover today. And you've got 6 boxes on this page. And you can just make some point form notes. Each of these bullets can be in its own box. So one of the issues facing Canadian farmers is the loss of farmland to ever expanding cities. So that's an issue. Not all these are bad. It's just something, a consideration, a challenge. So loss of farmland to ever expanding cities. Another problem is often some of that farmland is some of the richest we have in Canada. So if we look at Toronto and that Niagara region where we hear commercials about the wineries and the peaches and the fruit from that Niagara district, some of the richest farmland, but as Toronto keeps expanding in the greater Toronto area, it's being swallowed up. So it's not just our, that kind of was okay farmland anyway. Some of our best farmland is right beside some of our biggest cities. Same could be true of Vancouver. We have lush farmland that risks being swallowed up. So even in St. Thomas, you guys did your little hike right before the spring break where you went into that new subdivision. That was all farmland like a couple of years ago. So in your memory, it's not like I'm like, oh, back when I was a girl. It's not like that. Like 2 years ago, that was farmland. It was a corn crop. And now it's houses and development there. So again, it's not necessarily a bad thing as long as we are planning well with where we're allowing cities to grow and that we're planning well to have enough farmland to sustain us. Another issue facing Canadian farmers is the decline of the family farm and the growth of agribusiness. So we talked about that in our last slide. That there are fewer farms, but they're bigger and they're not so much run as much by families as they are as a business, where you hire employees, you don't know the names of your cattle like you did when it was maybe a family farm and they had names above each cow that you milked and you knew which ones were which. When you get into herds of 500, that becomes kind of impossible. But when you have 35, you know the cow, you know she tends to milk a little heavy or light, you know she tends to mastitis, you know these things about your herd that you can't know as that herd multiplies by 10. Okay, so I'm asking, is this disconnection with the land and with the animals as it becomes a business with employees who haven't grown up on that farm and aren't connected to that farm, is this a bad thing? Is this something to be concerned about? Or is this just like part of, it's like industrialization, just that's what happens. You get a little less connected with things when you didn't grow up there and it's not your farm and it's your job and it's a paycheck. What do you think? Anyone want to pop into the chat and say whether you think this is a good thing? Does it matter if you don't know your cow's name? Okay, everyone is still busy writing. That's fine. Oh, no, there you go. We'll come back to that idea. Okay, so while land, another challenge is, can be a renewable resource, many agricultural practices damage the soil and cause a decline in productivity. So maybe it's not thinking about the end game so much as like getting a good crop now or the next few. You're not thinking about, whoa, what am I doing to the soil in the long haul by putting these chemicals in or working it this hard. Okay, so this idea of many agricultural practices damage the soil and cause a decline in productivity. organic farming, again, this isn't a bad thing. It's just an issue. It's just something else facing farmers. So organic farming is just the production of crops and animals without the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, radiation. So that's another just new thing that Canadian farmers have the opportunity to diversify into organic farming if they want to, or it becomes something they're competing against if they decide not to be involved in organic farming. Then they're competing with those who maybe want organic produce. Okay, I have a message in the chat. All right, thank you, Alexa. Alexa's voting in on, I don't think it matters if you know your cow's name. Okay, fair enough. Funny story about this while you are copying. Okay, so I worked with draft horses, which are like those big ones. If you've ever seen Budweiser commercials where there's draft horses, big horses pulling a wagon, those are the kinds of horses that I drove, and I drove them at fairs and shows and all that. And I kind of thought maybe I would like to marry a farmer because I kind of like the farm life, even though I grew up in the big city of St. Thomas. So the summer between my third year university and fourth year, I thought, okay, like I need to not just visit a farm and work with their horses like I'm doing, I need to go work on a farm and live there and see if this is really something I want to do. So I, with no experience at all of driving a tractor or doing hay and straw or milking a cow, just like put my name out there, and some lovely farmers in Mitchell said, yeah, sure, come live with us for the summer, newbie who knows nothing, and we'll see how this goes. So I milked cows, I drove tractors with big round bales of hay behind, and it was a great time. It really was. But I also decided, whoa, this is quite the lifestyle. I don't want to get up at 5:30 every single morning, and I don't want to be home at 4:30 every single day in order to milk these cows. This is a lot. I don't think I want, I don't want this. I reject you, farm lifestyle. It's too hard. So I kind of came to the decision that maybe I don't want to marry a farmer after all. But my friends at my wedding did this funny little thing because I ended up marrying Mr. Ong, who's a farm assist, right? Pharmacist, farm assist, but not spelled F-A-R-M. But they did this whole little spoof of farm assist. So you did marry your farmer after all. Anyway, you're all caught up copying. There's a little snapshot into the crazy life that you have ahead of you as you figure out what it is you want to do, and you lop off by doing it and say, no, I don't think I want this after all. So glad I didn't go to school to become a farmer, and then decide this is too hard. Okay, there we go. We've got 2 issues left. BSE, mad cow disease, and other diseases and contaminations can halt Canada's exporting. So if one processing plant in Canada gets infected with something, it like brings everything to a halt. And this happened in 2003, like all the borders closed for Canadian beef because there was one outbreak. We have seen this with like lettuce in the States. When there is one case of harmful bacteria found, the whole thing shuts down. So that's an issue. That's an issue that affects all, say, beef farmers, or all, if you have bird flu or something like that, then that becomes problematic for all farmers when one case is found and borders close. The last issue we're going to talk about is GMOs, so genetically modified organisms. These are created when scientists transfer a gene from one organism and introduce a desirable characteristic into another. So for example, if you see that a herbicide kills dandelions and you introduce that gene into a herbicide that already killed ragweed, you're building a herbicide that kills a number of different pest plants. Maybe it kills everything but the crop because you have modified it so that you have like the perfect herbicide. But then other people come along and say, I don't think you should be playing with the genes of food, so that you have an apple with characteristics that we've never seen in an apple before. So when you start messing with food and you have like a corn that is resistant to drought because you've introduced a gene into it, you've now switched the makeup of corn and we're eating it. So some people are raising concerns about what exactly are we eating as you kind of play with all of these genes, and what is that doing to our food supply? And is this why we have so many allergies and so many aversions to food? Is it because we played around so much with our food that we have in this generation allergies we've never ever seen, and the quantity of those allergies in ways we haven't seen ever before? So that is what all right, here is my attempt at humor. Mad cow disease. Betsy decides to do something about her case of mad cow disease, which is BSc Anger Management Seminar. Way to go, Betsy. And Alexa is saying you don't need to know Betsy's name. You can still be a good person and a good farmer if you don't know Betsy's name. So there you go. Okay, what I am going to do for you who watch this seminar is we're not even going to talk about subsidies. You get to take your marker and scratch out that last question at the bottom of those 6 boxes that asks you about agricultural subsidies. You don't even have to do that. Okay, so I'm going to scratch that out on my master copy so that I remember you don't have to do that. All right, in the last minute or so of our seminar, I want to know, do you want to do Bible in like 5 minutes and get her done? Or do you want to do Bible at 2:15? Okay, so pop it into the chat. Or I'm going to stop share because we're all done here. So now I can see you all. Look at all of you. Okay, so do you want to do Bible now? We'll do hands up or pop it in the chat, but you can't vote twice. Okay, so right away or 5 minutes, like to go get a drink and give yourself a pep talk. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. 5 minutes from now, hands up or pop it in the chat. Yes, please. And who wants, okay, so I've got, okay, and then 2:15, hands up. Okay, so, oh man. Did we lose someone? We did, okay. So it's a tie because we've lost a couple people. So from those of you left, I have 1 minute left. We're gonna do hands only, sorry, Justice. So I can keep it straight. Hands up if you want to do it right away or like 5 minutes. Hands up, get her done. Okay. Okay. You win. 5 minutes. I'll see you back. Nice. Sorry.